After a long time, I'm coming online for a live session today. There was a huge gap, and then so I thought I should come live again once more on Facebook and give a session so that I'm connected with you all. So I'll wait for a few minutes so that if anyone is trying to join us, they can join. So a few minutes I'll start off. The weather is better. I think Delhi is going towards the cold winter now. Although it's humid at times, but I feel that it's better than what it was last month. So the pandemic seems to continue along with us. It is going to stay with us for some time, I guess, because we see cases rising, although we are all have learned how to survive along with it, which is a good thing, I would say, because we are learning that this is going to be a part of our regular life, so we better survive along with it. And that's a good indication. I have a friend here. So, so friends, I think I'll start off. It's uh, it's going to be, oh, it's only 6:03, so I'll wait for 2 more minutes and then I'll start. I know Sunday evening it's a time when some of you must be enjoying family time and planning to go out for walks since the weather is pleasant. Yes, of course, we are survivors. Somebody, uh, my friend has typed in the chat box, yes, we are survivors, we are fighters, and we can fight through this pandemic and emerge as more stronger, more courageous people. These are all tests and challenges that human beings need to tap that inner potential so that we understand that we have a lot of potential than what we think we have. So to explore ourselves, I think we need challenges like this pandemic. What we can avoid is panic. The other day I was watching a video and some doctor had posted it. He had something very wonderful which he shared. Said it's not that we can't handle the patients, it is the panic we are unable to handle, which is very true. Panic of the relatives, panic of the dear friends, or the panic of neighbors. If you hear somebody is infected, then all the neighbors get panicky and they're like taking extra care. I think we just need to take some precautions and we need not lose our empathy and our cool. We can continue with our lives, but we just need to be a little more careful and we can definitely call up that neighbor and talk to them. There's no harm in that. This, and you can maintaining a safe distance, you can exchange pleasantries as well. If you see them walking or if you see the relatives of the patient walking on the road, or during quarantine also I have seen that some of them come out for walks because they have to take care of their immunity, so they need to go for walks, physical exercise. So you can with a safe distance exchange some pleasantries, nothing wrong in that. But we all need to be careful, yes, of course, but we all also need to take this in our stride. So, Shrikant, good evening, Mr. Shrikant. I just saw your message. Mm, I think I'll start off now. It's 6:05. So, yeah, today's topic is communication with the youngsters, whether you are a parent, whether you are a whether you are a teacher, whether you are an educationist. I think this has been a very challenging thing, interacting with the young adults, interacting with the adolescents. And many of the parents share many points with me, and I have witnessed the professors also sometimes sharing their issues. And we see that students usually, when they are in a group, they are this bundle of energy, and we can see how vibrant, how lively they are. So, and how knowledgeable, I would say, because in my observation, they are very up to date. Whatever the newest, whether it is technology, whether it is news, whether it is current affairs, whether it is the latest fashion trends, or whatever is happening, whatever is new, I think if you want to know about it, these youngsters are the people you can always have a good chat with, because they know what is the latest trend, what is the latest update about anything. And it's really amazing. It's very wonderful. I mean, I really admire these people for keeping themselves updated and ready to learn, understand, and ready to uh, keep a tab on all the things that are happening, all the changes that are happening. It's commendable, actually. So the big question comes, I mean, why so many problems arise when we are interacting with these youngsters? Why there is a huge gap when we want to convey something to them, or we want to listen to them? That common bridge is not there. In some cases, there is a lot of misunderstanding. There's a lot of arguments. There are a lot of, bad blood, I would call, between them and the next generation. So I think the basic issue here is not the generation gap, as some of the people always say that they don't understand us and they don't follow what we are trying to say. They are too arrogant there, you know, and the youngsters feel that the old generation is too judgmental. They are too traditional. They don't appreciate the modern systems, and they don't appreciate them enough. They don't understand. So I think in both ends there is a huge gap where the a common ground needs to be arrived at. Some a point where both of them can interact in a healthy way and develop good relationship. Because whether you are a student professor, whether you are a teacher student, whether you are a parent and a teenager, in every relationship you need to enjoy good interpersonal relations, because that is the very basic of anything, whether it is a learning relationship, whether it is a affectionate relationship, family, blood relationship, anywhere, friendship. I think the basic thing which needs for any relationship is good communication. So to achieve that, I think some amount of understanding from both ends is very much required. Now, one thing in my while I used to be interacting, used to, why I'm saying, because past 5 months, all the colleges and schools, universities are closed down. So it's more of online interaction. But when I was physically going for sessions or taking counseling sessions or interacting with these youth, what I found is, other than their zeal to learn something new and get adopted easily to whatever changes are happening, they have a very, their energy levels are very high, and they're also going through a lot of confusion. I want to share this with you all today, because somewhere we need to understand their perspective to understand them better, to know what exactly are they going through. They are actually in this transitional phase. They where in their families there are traditional, especially in India, we have a traditional family system, values, ethics, morals, whatever. And when it comes to modern, because of the internet age we are living in, and the globalization, the side effect is also that these youngsters somewhere are exposed to the Western culture more than any other time, and they are getting to know more things, and they're opening up more towards the new ideas, because somewhere they feel more freedom is there. So I think this is the root cause of any, they are trying to go with both, because they cannot displease their parents, they cannot negate the traditional value system, um, and they are following, they are trying to follow that, as well as they are trying to adopt the modern style of living and try to change their own perception about it. So it's like दो नावों पे पैर रख के चल रहे हैं. So for them it's a difficult journey, because somewhere they are compromising at some point, and sometimes they have to do it because of their family, their parents, and sometimes they have to do it because they cannot neglect their own needs, wants, desires, freedom, thoughts. So somewhere this struggle is continuous. I think till they get employed and move away, or they attain that maturity level where they can understand that this is a constant war, and they need to take some strong step so that they establish their own way of living, adopting both. To get that kind of a maturity, that kind of an understanding, I think they need little more years and little more maturity. So we all have to wait for that time to arrive, because right now nothing is very subtle with them. It is ever changing, forever changing. Because today what they believe in, they might not believe tomorrow. And for us, like, then I have also witnessed some cases where, like a teenager, when I was having an interaction with a college student, he like told me that in his family, he had a big issue with you know his parents, and one day he came and he just wanted to talk to me. I was asking if there are small things, like he is fond of western, all these modern foods, like uh, which we call the junk food, and occasionally he wants to treat himself with that. But whenever he does that, obviously a bit expensive, and then when the parents come get to know about it, they are like um, preaching him not to eat that junk food frequently, because it's going to spoil his appetite, spoil his health, because they're not good. Eating out is not good. And he had this complaint that occasionally when friends are going out, or you just plan it out, you don't plan it, sometimes it just happens. And it's difficult for parents to understand, just planning and going somewhere, why didn't you decide it earlier, why didn't you inform me? This is a natural response from any parent. But well, in colleges, when they are with their friends, sometimes it does happen that on the moment something has been decided and they just go out by the flow. So, and that becomes the friction point between the parents and the um, youngsters. I think this can be avoided, where you just give him a little margin that it's okay, fine. But when you see that his appetite is going down, his or her appetite is going down, they're having health issues or they're having digestion issues, then you, in a very subtle manner, you can remind that maybe if they are going out with friends, they can opt for some healthy food or some drink to avoid the foods that are not suitable to them. So having this kind of conversation really helps. It's like bridging the gap, and I'm sure this will help them. Other than this, somewhere I think parents, we elders, we somewhere we are failing on one part, which I feel, that is, there are some in a person, in a personality, in an individual, there are some things which can be changed, which do change as you grow up, especially the youngsters. But there are some things which should not change. They are the values that you have given them, they are the family rules or the regulations, or you can give them a training in how to adopt the new methods or new policies or new rules and regulations or the new things, without stopping following, without stopping these value system or the rules and regulations, neglecting those. That kind of a teaching is needed, that kind of a training is very much needed for youngsters. I think we fail somewhere to make them realize that these things should not change. For example, empathy is a value we all need in our life, whatever age group we are in. So we can suggest to them that it doesn't matter how well you are educated, how modern your thinking is, or how you want to adopt to the Western culture, but this you should not ever quit, because this is very much needed. That kind of conversation, that kind of alertness we need to provide to them. We need to have those kind of conversations with them when they are in family. I think by parents, if they are doing that, that's going to help them understand better what are the things they can adopt and what are the things they have to carry forward without changing them. So I think this much, if I remember correctly, we are in that generation, all of us have interaction with youth. We are quite judgmental at times, like the kind of conversations when somebody is visiting. There are three C's which you need to avoid. I call them three C's because number one is complaining. Parents should never complain that you don't listen to me, you don't understand what I'm trying to tell you, you don't understand this. That complaining is a big roadblock in communication. You need to, yes, you can complain, but you also need to gauge their mood before doing that. You also need to see how receptive they are. There are times when you also feel, in a low mood, or you are unable to understand that. But I understand we are all human beings, but trying our best not to criticize them, and try and wait for the best time when we can convey it in a better way rather than complaining. I think this is going to work well. Other than this complaining, comparison. Parents have this tendency, a very common tendency of comparing their kids with others. I think we must avoid that. Whether it is teacher, whether it is an educator, whether it is a professor, all of us, we need to avoid that, because no two people are the same. They are individuals with their own good qualities, their own good points, and their own way of living. We cannot compare two people, and it is always better not to compare them, because we should encourage them to be their own selves. Even while competing for something, um, examinations or anything, they need to compete with their own self. They are their own competition. This kind of a sense of belongingness, sense of self identity has to be established. That is a very strong point, beginning, not just um, youth, but every child needs to have this kind of a confidence in themselves. The third point is compassion. What is compassion? We all love our kids. We all have a compassionate attitude, but at times we fail to show it. So displaying that compassion is very, very important. If you want to inculcate this compassionate value in our youth, I think we need to demonstrate it more. If we see that, um, in colleges, I've seen many times, like when I was consultant with one university, I had a complaint from the dean that a bunch of a particular batch of students are always late for the class, and even when they are in the class, they are sleeping or they are not paying attention. And this has been observed by all the teachers, that were all the professors who were attending that class, taking that class. So those kids were sent to me, those youth were sent to me. I had an individual talk with all of them instead of a group talk. And all of them, I got to know that some of them live very far off, and they commute almost 2 hours daily, 2 to 2.5 hours daily to come to the university. So they're starting off at a very early time, like if the class is at 9 o'clock, they probably start at their homes 7:30, 7 o'clock, something like that. To start at 7, they have to really get up more earlier. And then after going back in the evening, they have assignments. They're tired, and um, after even being tired, they want to have a connect with their friends, they want to chat, they want to finish their assignment or whatever. So they are sleeping late in the night, they're going to sleep very late in the night. So that way they were sleep deprived, and because of that their appetite was also affecting. And some of them had this habit of being on the social media for a long time. They had their own vlogs, they had their own YouTube channels, and they had their own passion for shows which they wanted to watch every day. And because of that, they were sleeping late and again getting up late in the morning and attending classes. It is a vicious circle. They were in that, they were unable to manage their time well. The only thing I did as a counselor was to give them some time management, organization, and self management sessions. And after a month, I think they all got back to a very healthy schedule, and they were able to do well. I think we just need to understand what is the problem, and more, rather than focusing on an individual, and reacting to that individual's attitude. We need to focus on the problem, try to dig up what exactly is the issue, and help them come up with a solution. I think that is the best way to grow together or bond together. This bonding is very, very important. In my self experience, I want to share with you all that youth are very smart. They know who really understands them, who is really empathetic towards them, and who is the judgmental one, who doesn't want to interact with them properly, or who is always challenging them or criticizing them. So I think we need to follow these three C's to bond with the youth, and that is really, really important. Today, this is just a basic session where I'm not talking about any theories, where I'm not giving you any PPT presentation, or I'm not talking about the big, technical wordings or teachings, because nowadays it is the trend that for every topic there is a course curriculum, there is a way of you Google any word, whether it is time management, whether any life skills or anything, you come up with a course being offered. I think these are things which the brain reads. We use our brain to know all these things, but the real kind of relationships between humans are much more through heart. So the feelings, the affections, the invisible things are very, very, very important, because somewhere we are all emotional, not just mental beings, we are also emotional beings. We are also spiritual beings. So we all need that kind of a bonding, that kind of a nurturing to to develop good relationships with each other, to live a quality life. So I feel that as educationists, as professors, as teachers, as parents, we all need to understand the basic things. Again, go back and relearn all those value systems, and also start practicing them in a practical way, so that we can groom our younger generation in a better way, rather than complaining about them being unruly. Yes, I agree. Somewhere, some of the youth are crossing the line, and their behavior is not. They do have behavioral issues. They do have temper issues, anger issues. They do have. Their thought process is not on the right track. I agree to all of that. But somewhere we are responsible for them, and we only need to guide them to come back to the proper way of thinking, to take up the right path, and divert all those energies for something constructive and productive. Eventually everyone changes, eventually everyone would understand this. We just need to patiently help them, try and make an effort to understand them better, so that we can guide them in life, or we can collaborate with them. I use this word collaboration because nobody can guide anybody if that other person is not willing. So developing that kind of a willingness, and their will to join us, to collaborate, and for mutual growth, is what we all can do about, we all should focus on. So I think with that I would like to end this session today. uh, this was a short half an hour session. I'll be taking more sessions, and if you want to connect with me and give your suggestions or any questions, do post it on my Facebook. And I'm also giving you my email ID. You can post your questions, your queries, or any future topic which you want to be taken. You can mail it to me. It is very simple. My email ID, umajmjk@gmail.com. It's umajmjk@gmail.com. Very simple. I'll also, I hope you all got it. umajmjk at gmail.com. This is my email ID. You can send your questions, your queries, and the topics which you would want in future. Uh, you can also suggest those topics, and I will surely take those topics in future. So friends, have a good evening. Enjoy your dinner and have a good life. We are survivors. and we are going to survive this pandemic, emerge winners, and set an example to our future generations that what we are facing today, whether it is career crisis, whether it is economical issues, whether it is mental, emotional, we can figure out the solution, um, and we can face any kind of challenge. On this note, let's all hope for a good life, better life, quality life in future, with all the problems hitting them head on. Good evening to you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much.